So I just bought myself a small sensor camcorder. Never really done an unboxing video before, so we'll open this up and see what we find in the box. I managed to find a good deal on this, a package deal. I got some accessories with it, and you might wonder why get a small sensor camcorder in 2022. And I suppose the true honest answer is that I'm a bit lazy. I just got back from an almost 5,000 kilometer bike packing and bike touring trip through Europe, and at the beginning of the trip I had a drone with me, and I was intending to learn how to use the drone and try to get some interesting footage from the trip. Unfortunately, I lost the drone. I got stuck in a tree in Spain, and I ended up getting one of my other cameras instead, Panasonic S5 with a couple of lenses. Unfortunately, I find that when I'm on these trips, I've decided lately that I want to document them and sort of make something off the trips rather than just have my own memories of them. But I'm just too lazy to use anything that's too difficult to use. If it's too heavy, if it's too complicated to set up, or if it's too fiddly, I don't end up using it. Comparing the S5 to an iPhone, the iPhone is a lot easier to use, but you don't get the same quality, you don't have the same range with the lenses, and I have an accessory ND filter for the iPhone, but it's fiddly to use. It's also sometimes difficult to see the screen. So I find that I don't take enough pictures, and especially not enough video, not as much as I would really like after the trip, which is a shame. So I've been thinking a lot about it lately, and I thought that maybe a camcorder would be a solution. Something that has all the right tools, easily accessible, and that's not too big in itself. When I was researching different camcorders, and I've owned a few camcorders before, so I've had a look around through, I came across this Panasonic HC-X2000. It's a small compact camcorder, and it should be able to do what I want. The problem with it is that it's a small sensor. The sensor is not really much bigger than the sensor that I already have in the iPhone. It's a little bit bigger, but not gigantically bigger, and it's drastically smaller than the full frame sensor in the S5, or even the micro four thirds sensor that I have in my GH5S. I'm hoping that I will be able to use this anyway to be able to take some nice footage while I'm out on a trip, and it will be simple enough for me to use that I will actually use it, which this is a big sticking point of the whole deal. It has to be small, it has to be usable, and I'm hoping this will fill those requirements. Camcorder itself, as you can see, it's not all that big. And the top handle for it. Nothing else in the box, so I'll get rid of the box. Camcorder itself, reasonable size, can work as a handheld camcorder. It's got a flip out screen, it's got a viewfinder, and it's got this separate attachable top handle that gives a few extra controls and gives the possibility to have XLR inputs, so you get better quality sound. It also has a light at the front, which can be very handy when you're out and about and doing the sort of travel type stuff that I hope to be doing with this. Instruction manuals, I suppose I'll have to read those. Holder for a microphone holder that fits on the handle, which is great, as I actually have an XLR microphone somewhere, a Sony from another camera I had before, that I will be attaching to this handle, and that way I will have a good shotgun microphone with an XLR input. It is actually possible, I've read, I hope I'll have to check how true that is. It should be possible to have 4 channels with the handle on, both of the XLR inputs, and then there is an ordinary mic input, an ordinary 3.5mm mic input somewhere that you can use as well. Traveling with this, I've got the option of using like a wireless system that I can plug into the 3.5mm plug, or use this with a more advanced system. So if I was traveling and I wanted to be really light system, I could basically leave the top handle at home and just have this. Got the power brick. As I understand it, the battery charges inside the camera. I don't know if that's a good thing, basically. I would have preferred it maybe if it had a separate charger. That's something I might have to look into. One of the reasons I chose this camera when I was researching it is it has a decent sized battery. According to what I've read online, this battery should last at least 4 hours, which is quite a long time. That's a lot of video. If I was to have 2 of these batteries with me on a trip, they would last, probably a month of filming, depending on how much I do, naturally. We have the adapters, and we have the eyepiece. I don't need that adapter. The battery fits in like that. Still quite a nice compact setup. You can put the eyepiece on either way, left or right, depending on if what eye you use to look through the finder. Make sure that's on that properly so I don't lose it. Oh, feels like quite a nice eyepiece. The size seems quite decent. It has this built-in lens hood with a cover. If I wanted to make it even smaller, I can get just an ordinary, I believe it's a 62mm lens cap for that, and I would have a really nice, small, handy camera to take with me. Feeling it in my hands for the first time, it actually feels slightly bigger than I was actually expecting, but still nice and compact compared to anything else. So it'll be very interesting to see how this works out. I will be testing it in the coming 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month. I will be making some reviews of some of the equipment I used on my latest bikepacking trip, and I will be filming some of my bikes, and I will be trying to see how much of a handicap the smallest sensor is. Now, the problems I'm going to have are probably in poor light, it's going to be pretty noisy, and I won't get the same separation, the same shallow depth of field that I will get with a camera with a larger sensor. But because I have this really long zoom lens, it's a 24x zoom lens, it actually, in equivalent terms of 35mm, it's 25.5 to 600mm lens. I might be able to use that to get a bit of compression and a bit of separation by filming from a longer distance instead. It's something that I'm going to experiment with. I mean, it's not like, it feels quite solid actually, which is good. It feels like it will actually last. And I hope that this will be able to do travel duty for me. I will probably be doing 1 or 2 overnighters or shorter trips before the season is over this year, and I'll get a chance to test how this works. And along with the reviews I hope to be doing, I should get a feeling of what works, what doesn't, and if it is possible to use this rather than a more of a mirrorless camera that I've been using before. It has built-in ND filters, which is one of the things that I really appreciate. I don't like fiddling around with external ND filters. And it basically has all the controls I hope to need. Now I'm going to put some SD cards in it, put it on charge, and then I'll head off and see how it works. Stay tuned to find out more.